Welcome to this channel. Here I talk about business, manifestation, spirituality, creativity, coming up with new ideas, and really expanding your world through more of your fuller expression. And I have something special for you today. I'll be providing access to a new book that I've just completed, and it's called Cast a New Trajectory. And there's stories of real people, real lives, real change that happened for 12 specific individuals who worked with me. And I'll go into that a little more detail soon. But first, let me get into the kind of success I'm talking about. Um, Everybody wants success. It's a natural human desire, right? But what that success means and what is actually going to be fulfilling and really bring out our true self is actually really unique and different for everyone. And that's the key place that I really work with people. What is their higher vision? Because I've noticed that when people really, key into that, that's when their inner motivation just steps forward and they're really able to bring their skills, their natural talents, their intuition, their wisdom, and where they can listen to their gut. All of that just comes forward because now it's like they're on a mission. It's not just to achieve a material goal. Now, all of my clients, I would say, do want some material goals. So it's not to put it aside, but is to really put it in the whole context of what their higher vision is. And to me, a higher vision is something that when we really tap into our heart, into our soul, and our mind, bringing all of those together, we can then access ideas and desires that really resonate with us, that really speak to us, that have us, as I said, just like come alive and want to get out of bed. And we've got something that we feel a part of instead of separated from. And with manifestation, I think there's a lot of excellent material out there. I'm absolutely delighted. There's so much on online these days. But sometimes what happens is when somebody is new to that topic, they actually first create a sense of separation. Like I am over here, and what I want is over there, and now I've got to find this way to achieve that, to create that, to make it happen, to force it in some way, or I've got to be right in some way. I've got to make sure I don't do something wrong. Like there's a lot of tension and stress. And so coming back to that theme of higher vision, there is a natural ease that shows up when we are in our higher vision, when we have a sense of what that is, how it feels like inside us. And when we get it, like what is that going to actually mean to us? What are we going to be able to create as a result of that? Now, one thing about that I want to mention right up front is that that vision is always going to be evolving. As long as I think one's alive and being, really engaged with life, that higher vision is going to evolve. So it's not about, again, just coming to here's me and here are all these list of goals that I want to achieve. Everyone's different. So I do speak to certain people who are going to understand this and go, yeah, I really feel like that. Because for me, I know if I set up a whole bunch of practical goals, even when I meet them, they're actually not very fulfilling. They're really not almost like the reason why I've gone that path. But the mind will make us think that we need these things in order to be happy, in order to feel successful, in order to get whatever it is that we think we want or need in life. And I just found that for me, the fulfillment did not stick. Whereas when I really move towards my higher vision, I find that, as I said, not only is there a natural ease, but I'm actually more engaged with life. I feel like, it doesn't matter if something doesn't work out because it's just part of the whole ride, so to speak, right? It's part of the game. It's not like we're going to get everything we want in every instant because that probably wouldn't be very fun after about 5 minutes of that, right? So when I work with people, it's really to go a little deeper and actually get far more true. And I noticed that for a lot of people, when we get close to that, they actually almost like stop, like something that their body language just stops in a moment because I can tell they're like clicking in to a truth that they know is present inside them. And then once they have access to that, they can actually amplify it. And they don't even have to think about it. They actually begin to amplify. Their whole energy shifts, their body language shifts, their face changes, the way they speak, the tone of their voice, everything naturally then falls into place. But there is some work to do at that beginning, right? When we want that higher vision, we've got to ask some deeper, important questions. Like, what really calls me, right? What really calls me? What are the kinds of things that I just do naturally and no one has to tell me to do them? What kind of things do I love doing that just feel like they free me, they liberate me, they open my mind, they have me want to learn and grow, right? Like asking those deeper questions and then starting to bring that all together with the also the practicalities of life. Yes, we all want certain levels of money. We want certain um things that we can own, that we can use, that we can experience. We want relationships, we want fun, we want health and wealth, all of it, right? Who doesn't? But again, we all have different nuances to what that is going to feel like and also what that's going to look like. So, this book that I've written is called Cast a New Trajectory. And as I said, they're real stories of real people going through a real change. And the way the book is written is just to give you kind of like a backstage pass to the shifts that had to be made for the person to arrive at their higher vision. And, you know, I've read so many success stories and I absolutely love them. I love reading about transformation. I love watching movies about transformation. I love experiencing my own transformation and helping, those I work with. And part of it is because I've always been drawn to that light within us that already kind of seems to know who we can become. And to bring that alive is a joy that I think I will have for the rest of my life. And to be a part of that journey with somebody is also absolutely amazing because this is where two minds come together, two hearts come together. I really work with people um, in a deep way, in a connected way. They know I'm there for them, right? It's not just some random person that who's going to teach them skills or train them in something, but I get to know them. And through that journey, they begin to really know themselves. And sometimes I can be a sounding board where they actually begin to hear themselves instead of, saying something and then just going on to the next topic. And that's a huge part of where some of the shifts were being made in these stories that are in this book. And so that wondering that we all have, like, how did that person get successful? What was that breakthrough? What is it that they did? Like, we all, no matter how much we know it's not the truth, think there's some secret that we must know. And I would say there are things that are consistently supportive of creating a breakthrough, of a person getting there, of having that experience. But it's not like a 10-step formula because when a person can read my book and say, oh my gosh, I love this that you did with that person, and I'm going to do that. And, fabulous if that can work for you. But the thing is, a lot of this work has to be in right timing. So when we have a 10-step formula, we tend to go, oh, we'll start with number one, two, three, and I'll move through that. We can get a certain amount of work done that way. We can have a certain amount of results that way. We can even experience some shifts that way. But it's way more powerful to have the exact step you need to take when you need it, because that's when it's going to have greater potency. And that's why a lot of people that have worked with me experience like pretty major shifts within sometimes days, within weeks, within a couple of months that they'd actually been trying to get for months and years prior, wondering about it, thinking about it, wishing for it, oh, hoping something's going to change in their world so that it can happen for them. And instead, what we did was we switched that around so that they returned to their power. They began to shift their internal state to really be connected and aligned with that higher vision. And I'll give you one example of something that I just mentioned a few moments ago. So one of my clients, we initially, we met through a certain event that we were part of, and we were just having a conversation. And in that conversation, this woman was um, saying really amazing things that I really like about her work, about her ideas. And I was like, wow, she's really with it. She really gets it. And she, I would say, has something that, like a very rare way to be able to articulate her thoughts that many people can struggle with. And yet it was just coming up very naturally. Yet what I would find is at the end of, sharing something like that, she would go, oh, I don't know, or, maybe in a few months I'll do that. And I heard this a few times, and it began to dawn on me that while she had this incredible wisdom and knowledge and passion, she was clearly stopping her own progress. She was postponing her success. She wasn't actually acting on it at the level she was fully capable. And it's not common that I will approach somebody and invite them to my work. Often they find me in some way, read something or watch a video or hear a webinar, and they want to connect and we have a consultation. But in this case, we were already in this conversation, and so I just pointed that out. I was just like, I'm noticing you're saying these things. Are you aware of that? Right? Because often, as I said, we can say a lot of things out loud, but we don't catch the very specific points at which we're either then, as I said, postponing it, denying it, or kind of putting it aside, undermining our own abilities and power in that moment. And so I brought that to her attention. And then, you know, we ended up having a further conversation. I invited her to have an actual consultation to say, like, hey, you've got all this wonderful stuff, but it's not really coming out of you in a way that is having your business get launched, because she'd actually been trying, like in her mind, I would say, for 2 years and putting some stuff out. It's not that she wasn't taking action, but literally nothing was happening. There was like no income, no revenue, no sales. And so that particular moment of being able to catch that for her and reflect it back to her, and then show her the path that it was actually offering, was the moment that her shift really began. And so, she made that decision through that conversation to work with me for a 90-day period. And I'm not going to go into the whole story here. That was just like the introduction, because you can read about it in the book. But you'll see how she went from staying in this, oh, I'll think about it maybe next year, maybe, and not, certainly not now, to launching her business, completely changing her pricing, offering a different level, a higher level of service, that, again, she was very capable of, and having, creating profit from that. So when we when we have that sounding board, when we have a space that we can talk with both confidentiality, trust, and also like just like a stream of consciousness, just let ourselves say things without the fear of, I'm going to be judged for this, or this person's going to criticize me. That is absolutely priceless, right? That's when we hear the most important things that are coming out of our own mouths, right? And I experience that too. I find that like speaking out loud with somebody, again, as who can play that role for me, really helps me understand what is a priority, something that my intuition seems to know before kind of my mind catches up with it. And when I have that reflected back to me, I know that immediately, like I find like I can take action so much quicker. I can, usually it's a pretty immediate. It's like, yes, I'm doing this, and a commitment comes out. And that's how I get into momentum and an action. So similarly, I find that other people, when they're in a situation where they're working with me, that's what starts happening for them. And this creates a kind of momentum that allows them to step into that higher vision instead of just whatever is my next goal. Okay. Now, sometimes goals are, useful and fun for me, but in a very limited way. And the places they are fun is when I just feel like I want to win, I want to feel like I'm like I just won something. And so to set some kind of goal that I know that I can practically take action towards and meet, and I know I'll be a success at it, can give me that energy, can give me that just motivation, can remind me, yes, oh yeah, I am good at things. Because when we are fully in our business and busy with day-to-day stuff, it can be really easy to focus on what has to be done instead of the end result, right? Of that feeling of that connection to that win, right? And so sometimes creating goals for ourselves that allow us to experience it can then just give us that boost to then come bring that back to what is that higher vision. And hey, you know what? I can bring that kind of energy to that as well. Um, Let me see. I just got a couple of notes here. So by the way, if you're new to my videos, I just tend to kind of talk directly. And I like to share stories, sometimes my stories, sometimes stories of people I work with or other people I know, where I can bring like certain insights, because I find personally, I love storytelling, and I find that when people listen in that manner, what happens is they kind of connect with certain insights that are speaking to them in the moment. So it goes back to that perfect timing. They hear what they need to hear, and then it's actually embodied in a much deeper way than when we go through, a very linear kind of training model. Here are the steps, here are the things, and it's all placed out. Again, there's a place for that. It's useful. But when it comes to me, to really expanding, to growing, to being really highly creative in our ideas, in creating a new venture, excuse me, we we need that. We need something different, like a kind of an injection of, or what happens is almost like there's a transmission through storytelling. There's a transmission of both energy, and the story activates the right brain as well as the left, right? Whereas the linear thing usually keeps us in the left brain. We're thinking very logically, and we can miss the more creative side. We can miss the places where our intuition will speak to us, where our gut will speak to us. Um, so yeah, so I just kind of talk directly here. And so you can always, forward it a little bit if you need, or speed it up, because sometimes I can go slow. And that's usually when, I find the more present I am, or if I really want to convey a certain piece of information, I slow down, because I actually don't want people to skip fast through it, so that they can get it, so that that transmission actually happens. And so as a result, I write some notes, but I don't have a script. And I'll experiment. Maybe I'll try that again at some point. But um, I'm just going to now refer to my notes just to remind myself of what I definitely wanted to make sure I got across. Um, Okay, so yeah, we've been talking about higher vision as in really the context. And I find this also works really well for big picture thinkers or visionaries. They kind of need to see the landscape. And so knowing your learning style can really help. And, you know that just by looking at the things that you learn really easily and how you learn them, that will tell you what works well for you. So people who are bigger picture thinkers, who like the higher vision, who are more purpose oriented, who see a context for things, who see how, everything is connected. They tend to connect to this style really rapidly and easily. And it just gets their wheels turning. And sometimes they can listen to something for 5 minutes and boom, they're off and out, doing that next piece that was calling to them. So we've got higher vision, and the other piece is fuller expression. This is another piece that I really use as a kind of magnet for people to get in touch with the levels of creation that call to them. And so what I mean by fuller expression is that, well, there's so many aspects of it, but it's basically, how do we show up in our life? How are we showing up? Are we in our fuller expression? We all know those moments where we're not thinking, we're just like speaking or being or acting. We're just doing something, we're in the motion of it. We're one with it, instead of feeling like, oh no, now I have to do this and I have to be this person, and oh, if I'm public speaking, I better speak like this and act like this. All of these rules that are just kind of created and often taught as something to teach, to me, rather than always actually the best way. I find that fuller expression comes out when we do connect with a true self, when we do connect with a higher vision first. It is very natural. I have taught public speaking to lots of people, and while I've maybe given them some outlines on, these are ways to structure the talk and all of that, like that's really like 10% of the real of the way they actually shift into becoming successful at it. The other 90% is them being in touch deeply with their topic and speaking in their most natural way that exudes their energy, that transmits their energy, but also goes into whatever it is, the topic there is, and they can talk about it with an ease. And when I get people into that state of ease and naturalness, they can plug in the structure and everything, create the perfect outline for it, look at the timing, look at whether they're engaging the audience. And all of that to me kind of comes after. It comes after. But if they have all of that, but they're not like lit up inside, this is where the most interesting talk can become extremely dull, right? When the person can just lose interest before they've gotten anywhere. So fuller expression is, and when maybe the simplest way is when you are lit up. And most people don't live their life with this as any objective at all, right? That's not the way society is taught to think. We're told to, get an education, get a great job, make a certain amount of money, have the family, do the thing, pay the taxes, right? And all of that. But when you go for your fuller expression, you actually learn not only who you are, but who you can now be. And I would say that our range of expression is practically limitless. We we can become so much more than we are at any moment, just by that choice and by that decision and by growth and learning. And not everybody wants this, so that's fine. But I find that the people who come to me, they're actually longing for it. Sometimes I've had people like it literally brings tears to their eyes. Another story you'll read about a woman I work with. So, by the way, I have fairly extensive background in a few different areas. Um, Coaching and consulting is like part of the main, but I've done a lot of facilitation, teaching, training as well. And some of the more creative sides of my work, I have included wardrobe styling. And I included at one point, several years ago, I went to Paris and I studied that. well, studied fashion, haute couture fashion, and because it was just a personal interest of mine. And I started, offering styling to people. It's something that people had kind of always been asking me in my life anyway. So I started to offer it as part of my services and include in some of my higher level coaching. Anyways, so this woman had hired me for a wardrobe styling. I was in her closet. I was looking at all of what she had, and I found some really gorgeous, like unique items that she had, and said, "Oh, these are really beautiful. Like, do you get a chance to wear them much?" And she suddenly found herself getting really emotional suddenly. And so, we sat down and to learn more about, what was happening for her in that moment. And it was almost like she got in touch with the fact that these items were just like left there in the closet and for an occasional event that might happen once a year or something. And so she suddenly realized that that's how it felt with more of her expression, not only in the clothing she wore, but the talent that she had. She was successful already in her career, but it was like it had come to a standstill. And this moment had her recognize that and go, wow, there's so much inside me that I actually want to share with the world, that I want to, have bigger challenges, that I want to expand the niche I'm in, really grow it. And I want to be known for that. And, again, she was to a certain extent, but her goals now were to go beyond that. And it was that emotional expression really showed me the kind of the passion that was already there, and that she clearly had a higher vision already within her. And so that's how she ended up working with me, because that came up within her. And so fuller expression can mean, how are we dressing? How are we showing up? How are we communicating when we're with people we care about? How open are we? Are we able to be vulnerable? Do we share our delights? Do we share our fears? What do we do? So all of that, to me, the more we're able to do that and welcome, opening ourselves to knowing who we are, and then, sharing it out in the world without that fear of judgment, without just worrying about it, the more we actually get to become ourselves. And so that's another theme that you're going to find in many of the stories, that people suddenly felt this sense of liberation inside of them, this freedom to be more of who they are and to have what it is that's actually important to them. And so yeah, like that. There's lots of great stuff, and so I'd love for you to get a copy of the book. And right now, I'm actually just offering it as a free download, as a PDF, before I make it into a Kindle or any other format. And so I will provide the link for you to access that. And one of the things, so when I started the video earlier, I mentioned, we all have this question when people succeed, like, what is it that led them to their breakthrough? What actually happened? What shifted? As if there's like one magic answer. And if I were to give one, I think I would call it would be something like an shift, inner shift, a change of state is what I found happened for every single person that I work with, that allowed them to often leap to levels of results that had been delayed, or they just couldn't get to on their own, or they had tried with other people and it just hadn't worked. So that inner shift, because our nervous system can actually get kind of regulated to stressful energies like anxiety, overwhelm, fear, sadness, worry. We can actually habituate ourselves by doing, like, entering those states and staying in those states longer than we need to. And that is like our nervous system gets kind of wound up around that and in that. And so when we release that and we change it to higher states, peace, calm, joy, kind of natural, just the natural self, love, um, excitement, enthusiasm, passion, calm, as I said, even, you know, that's when it's like, it's almost like brain actually begins to shift and change. And that's what allows new ideas to come in. That's what suddenly we perceive things so much more differently than we had. I mean, I've had people literally like they can completely ignore the possibility and opportunity right in front of them and think that they're stuck. And just a little shifting of their inner state and a shifting of the way they're perceiving reality can then open that sight for them, open their vision, and now they can act and they're free to act. So that I would say is probably a pretty common denominator. And that's probably what makes me quite different than a lot of business coaches that you may listen to that are about strategy and tools and techniques and all of that. And even manifestation, which is a lot about technique, often out there when you listen to videos. Um, but this piece is huge. And I would say it's kind of like the diamond. It's actually the real treasure. And it's because of that that then the material results begin to change and new opportunities arise. So I'm going to end it there. I notice it's already getting it's a little darker now, getting into evening. But yeah, so I'm gonna, in the description below, you're going to get the link to this book that you can currently download it for free. I don't know if it'll keep it for free forever, but at this time it is. And you know, you can spend a couple of days if you want, just reading through every story and getting insights. There's also questions at the end of each story that you can answer, that you can work on, that you can journal on or reflect on, you know, to begin to say, wait a second, what are ways that I can think differently? How can I move into my higher vision? Where am I denying something that I already know I'm ready for? You know, am I postponing it? What decisions can I make that are different? How can I shift my state, right? So all of these things. Um, so the link is going to be there below. And also at the end of the book, if you would like to work with me, and it's for right now, I offer even like just a one-time session. Sometimes we need somebody who can be that sounding board, who has experience, who can really, you know, help us understand by reflecting back what it is that we're saying that is our priority, that is that higher vision. Sometimes it's by like waiting, what are the steps? You know, what are some major elements that I need to look into? So that's where a one-time session can be really useful to kind of you know, reorient ourselves to cast that new trajectory. And I also have tiny packages, which are like 3 sessions over a couple of weeks, where, you know, there's more time to kind of move through different questions and layers and work towards, you know, creating the shifts that you want. And of course, my major work is mostly when I work with people 3 months, 6 months. And that's where, you know, a lot of these stories you'll find a lot of the major changes happen, not only in terms of reaching a goal a person wanted, but multiple levels where suddenly their life and their business was all getting aligned the way it needed to for their next level. And so you can learn about that. And actually, I'll probably just include a link below. But the website is JoyWorks, JoyWorks.com. JoyWorks is my business that I've had for many years. And yeah, you can go on there and learn more. But thanks for listening. I hope this has provided some good food for thought. And I will see you next time.